Yes, here we go. It's the T.N.F, that time of the week where we go on a wee bit earlier, and we are always joined by the judge on the Thursday night forum, or the Thursday early afternoon forum, whatever you prefer. But it is a T.N.F that's a wee bit special because it's the first one since Celtic have retained their title, and 3 in a row has been achieved. It's not always felt that way this season, as we've discussed many a times on this particular show. Celtic put us through the mill at times, but when the going got tough, we certainly didn't get going. The team got going, but in the right way, and that was by putting in the best run of form, the best sequence of individual and team collective performances. The manager deserves credit, the players deserve credit. I know we spoke about it a lot last night, but there's been loads that have happened since the last time me and Judge had a chat, because obviously there was a small matter of the derby at the weekend as well, which led us to being in the position where a win or a draw, even at Rugby Park, was enough to seal the deal. And of course, we emphatically lifted the trophy last night, or well, metaphorically lifted it. We lifted it the weekend, but emphatically retained the trophy by smashing Derek McInnes's Kilmarnock, who must now feel like Brendan Rodgers, even when he does have a wee bit of hope that he is his grim reaper when it comes to all things Scottish football. I bet he is the only person who was more gutted than the Cream Buns when he returned to this country to enter into what I think will be another era of real dominance for Celtic. And I know that the foundations and the building blocks are built under the Postecoglou revolution, whatever you want to call it. And I think now, after a year of what we could call a semi-transition, I think Rodgers now will be in full flight, and the foundations are laid for what should be a really dominant next few years, a trophy laden, and hopefully shows progress in European competition as well. We'll do all that good stuff, and then we're going to get loads of thoughts from the judge. And of course, it's tonight we hand over the keys to you, so please get your points in. Remember and use the hashtag T&F so I can see it in the live chat a wee bit easier, and we'll try and dissect as many of your comments as possible, because that is what we look forward to the most on a Thursday. All that good stuff means give us a wee like, give us a share. By all means, you can slag the hair or slag the lack of video. If you want to become a Bhoycie Bus member, $1.99 a month, all the content's free. A big thank you to the guys on last night. I think there was a few free memberships getting dished out with the likes of 420 somewhere. There was someone else doing it as well whose name's escaping me right now, so apologies. But a big thanks for all the support. And remember as well, if you are wanting to even spend the euros with a wee halftime treat, then head over to pricesports.com. 12.5% off when you use the code BUS1888. Anyway, enough of that shite. Judge, this is how it feels to be Celtic champions again, as you know. Dare we sing the next line?
Well, why not? He's proven a lot of folk wrong. And I was throughout the season, I changed my mind on the guy about 3 or 4 times.
Yes, me too.
And to be fair, like, we were one of the biggest advocates for him to come back. You know what I mean? We said for day one that he'll bring a title to Celtic. He'll make the best with the players we've got. But we were reacting to the performances on the park, the things he was saying about the fans, the things he was saying about the players, and we just thought to ourselves, well, and that never does end well when that happens. But last night he just put us all to bed. You know what I mean? And I think that was a title for him. I think that he's worked really hard for it. I think throughout his career he's probably had a lot of ups and downs. But I think this season, I think with the amount of things that went against him, the press he's had to put up with, his own fans turning on him a couple of times, this will probably be one of the sweetest victories he's ever had as a manager. Take nothing away for the players. I think there's a lot of players in there that are dead wood, but they've pulled themselves through it. They became champions in their own rights. And I was watching, I've not done much of the celebrations at all. I've been working since this morning, but Liam Scales, I was watching him. He was just kind of soaking in the atmosphere, and he was watching the fans celebrating. I almost felt sorry for him. I thought to myself, he looks like he's just somebody who feels like an imposter. Like, did he deserve to be there? And he's been a key factor in us winning the league this season. All right, he's not been sensational, but I tell you something, he's been consistent, and he's been there, and he deserves his medal. I think there's a lot of players in that squad that don't deserve their medal, and he's one that come a couple of years' time, you look back and you say, do you know what, that man really deserved to be on that podium on Flag Day. Last night again, Celtic were sensational. I thought as a reader, I thought that was probably the best first half of football I've seen for a striker in years. I thought his link-up play was phenomenal. He was turning his defender, he was laying it up, he was coming inside, he was going outside, he was getting in the box as fast as you can. And I just thought that guy's unplayable tonight, and he got a goal, but I thought that he was man of the match, him or O'Reilly, but I thought he was great the full time he was on the park, and it was just a really satisfying night. I felt a bit bad watching it in my jammies and on a Wednesday night, boys. I like to be at the stadium, I like to be partying or at a pub or something, and I just didn't feel right for me. I'll make up for it on Saturday. Believe you me, I'll be mad with it, as they say. Last Saturday, I was mad with it. I mean, a few of the members of the pod met me in the lounge, and they were slagging me for being in there. But to be honest with you, I'm just more looking forward to. I'm not saying see the back of this season. That's the way I mean it. I just I've been poked through the ringer this season. I feel like emotionally, I feel like I'm done. I feel like, honestly, you're probably the same. I've been up and doing like a yo-yo, and we've been in and we've been out, we've been shaking all about, and I just want to savour this season. I want to sit back next Saturday night or Sunday when I sober up and just go, wow, what a season that was. Celtic again, the champions, a cup final to look forward to in the 25th, and then roll into summer. And do you know what? If there's a team that deserved it this season, nobody can take it away from Celtic. They've come up against their own fan base at times, against opposition, playing at Ibrox twice without any away fans. Tactics that are set out to stifle Celtic's approach rather than win the matches. But they came through it. And to be fair, had we beaten the teams that we should have done, this title would have been done weeks ago. Although I must admit, I have a wee laugh to myself when I see Rangers fans and the media in particular spout the fact that Dundee and Ross County took the title off of Rangers. If they won their matches, they would still be behind Celtic just now.
Incredible, isn't it?
And the season was won with 4 derby matches. Celtic getting 10 points, them getting 1. And to be fair, and to be honest, see the 1 point they did get, it was a 94th minute world-class equaliser. Barring that, they were nowhere near Celtic in the moments. And do you know what, Bhoycie? I think the Celtic fans deserve this title because it's been one hell of a season. It's been up and down, and we're all knackered with it.
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. I think it's been the first season in a long time where it's been sort of nip and tuck. Even the year that they won it, the anomaly season, the COVID year. I mean, they'd won it that early on. That we were that far behind, and it was such a weird setup, the whole thing. There was not actually a race then either. This is the first time some of our generations, we were talking about this in the group chat today, there was a wee sort of debate going, it's in your lifetime, how many titles had Celtic won now? I won't give away everyone's ages, apart from Owen, that's fine. I mean, 36 years we've won 20, I think it is. It's 36, I think I said. I think that's right. No, was it something like that? And it turns out it was only two more than some of our group members who are 23 years old. So an extra 13 seasons of Celtic's sort of being about in my lifetime, I've only got an extra 2 titles to my name, which shows how unbelievable recent times have been, but probably also gives you an insight and a bit of a sort of wake-up call as to why maybe this entitlement, as it can be described, I don't think it's as bad as that all the time. I think it's sometimes it's what you're accustomed to. And we're maybe looking at it from a different prism, and that's no one's fault. Do you know what I mean? You're the age you are, and you can only talk about the times that you've had. And to think of that dominance for one of the group members, 23 years old, and had won 18 out of 23 or something like that. I mean, that's unbelievable. Do you know what I mean? In their 20 years on the planet Earth, Celtic have won 18 of those titles, Judge. I mean, that's just phenomenal. I mean, you then think about it. Of course, there's going to be then more panic in these sort of younger generations' ranks when there is a challenge put to you, when everything isn't rosy in the garden week on week, when Celtic aren't rip-roaring and all that carry on every single match, when they do drop the odd point. You mentioned it in the live chat last night, though. As much as that's all happened this year, and there's been games we should have won or teams that we should be beating that we've not, the points tally if we win at the weekend finishes, 93, I think you said last night?
Yep.
Which would match Ange in his first season. And yet, we all know it was a sticky start with Ange, but notwithstanding that, I mean, 93 is a hell of a healthy points tally. In fact, it's a lot higher than many of the 9 in a row, the second 9 in a row that we won the league with. So these things all need to be taken into account. I think it's fair and sometimes where the panic can set in based on the examples I've just given. And I think sometimes maybe this season will give a more balanced and rounded view for some of the generations that have never seen title races like this and aren't used to it and aren't accustomed to it. That experience can be vital as well in terms of how we react to a bit of adversity as a fan base and how we maybe don't instantly want to push panic buttons and red buttons. And we're as guilty as anyone as well, Mark, by the way. Of course we are. But that's also what you're surrounded with when you're constantly reading, this is a nightmare, this is a disaster, or this isn't going right. Of course, it's going to slightly influence you and make your judgments slightly skewed. On the back of it, a 93-point title-winning season, and what I think has been a semi-transitional year, I would describe it as. I don't think it's been Rodgers has walked into a typical treble-winning team. I think when you look at the Jota departure, you look at Cameron Carter-Vickers only making a consistent run of starts towards the end, hence, funnily enough, our best run of form, I think. When you look at other absentees in the team, and someone like Liam Scales, you talk about in going terms, it surely wasn't part of the plan, though, really, for us to be pushing on from a treble-winning year for Liam Scales to be, first pick at centre-back, albeit he's absolutely done fantastic in that role and deserves a hell of a lot of credit. That's not someone you'd be, going, fucking buzzing for next season if it's going to be Liam Scales, in the back of a treble-winning year. And I don't mean that nasty. The levels of certain players are where they are. And I think there's been also the other backdrops that we've spoke about with recruitment and the manager not on board, the manager and some of the fans not on the same page, then the board and the fans at loggerheads with bans and things. And all these backdrops have led to a pretty tricky season, as well as the team, as I say, being in some sort of semi-transition. And yet here we are, champions again, a cup final we go into now, overwhelming favourites, in the best form we've been in all campaign. A financial gulf that's been expanded, and I don't want to be boring about these things, but it is part of the reality as well. And what we get means that they've not, unless they navigate the playoff rounds, which aren't easy. But if they do so, then fair play. But again, it must be a more daunting prospect as well for that. So all these things considered, it's a really sweet title to win. They're always sweet, and quite often recency bias will make the most recent one the most sweet. But I've got to say, I think the players, the manager, deserve a hell of a lot of credit. I'm not going to go as far as the board. I think for them it was the dream season, Mark. I think this is what they look for. European competition gets forgotten about because they didn't invest for it, but they've seen a real title race. So they've seen competitiveness in domestic football with our main brand, if you like, the Rangers rivalry, which they seem to view it as. And with that in mind, they probably have looked at this as a perfect way to the season 10 because it's such a satisfying feeling getting just in front of them. But I think the board aside, I think the managers and the playing staff and the coach and all that, they do deserve a hell of a lot of fucking credit for this one. And aye, fair play.
Oh, big time. I mean, definitely. You heard Rodgers mentioning the backroom staff. You don't really know their names sometimes, and the job they must do day in, day out, week in, week out is unnoticed. And I mean, for Rodgers as well, when Kennedy and Stratton to pull a bang average Celtic team. No, in fact, that's an average. That's a very below par Celtic team to 93 points, hopefully on Saturday. That's some gone, boys. I mean, that's a hell of a job he's done. If you look back, if you just saw it on paper without watching some of it, you're going, fuck, that's a good job he's done. And in terms of the board, just quickly, I think they'll see this season as a justification of their actions. I don't think they'll try to man up, to tool up and go the distance again. I think they'll see that as they'll sit back with their cigars and go, you know what, we've proved this, the Celtic fan base wrong. We know what we're doing. That's what they'll think, Bhoycie. They'll not go a heart or a brain like me and you. They don't think the way we do. And then same again when it comes to like recruitment. But you know something, like Bhoycie, I'm gonna be honest with you, and I don't mean you disagree with this, and Monko Tiny Day and all. And see last night, you look at the stadium last night at 12 at night, and do you know something? See, beating Rangers is what matters to Celtic. That is what matters. See, they get a European trophy in your history, fan-fucking-tastic. I've got a tattoo on my leg as Billy McNeil. I've been to the stadium. I celebrate it as much as anybody does. But beating Rangers is what matters. The distraught and the anxiety in our fan base when we went behind Rangers was felt worldwide by every Celtic fan. When we get put out of Europe, by breakfast time, you're like, eh. And that's even when you're into it. You're like, okay, it is what it is. So I think, to be honest with you, boys, as much as I hate the Bulls' stance on it, see if they set us up every season with a right good fighting chance of winning the league. I'm satisfied as a season ticket holder. I'm satisfied as a Celtic fan. And I'm satisfied in knowing that the Bulls have done their job. I'm not convinced to do that every season. I'm convinced sometimes they gamble. More often than not, they gamble. But boys, you watching these scenes last night, and we did get big results in Europe, and then you sell a DVD, you get the odd T-shirt, and you go to the Hydro and celebrate a result we had 21 years ago, and we're all great. But boys, all it matters when you break it all down, all it matters to the guy in the street is we beat Rangers. And if anybody at Celtic Park last Saturday when we beat them, the screams when we went at full time was like something I've not heard in years. It wasn't even shouts, boys, it was screams, just tension being released, and it was just thank God for that.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
And boys, and I was really went down to the stairs to get a drink after the match, and the place was just pandemonium. It was just amazing, and it's not always like that. I can assure you, sometimes it's just folks sipping their beer. But I don't know, mate. I just felt like, I don't know, if the board set us up to beat Rangers, I'll be happy, mate. Quite honestly, I will be happy. And Europe, it's their job to make me feel excited about it again. But see, in general, boys, if they sit each summertime and they say around the table, let's win the league next season, I have no complaints, mate. Not one complaint at all. And boys, I think this podcast, the post-mortem, would have lasted a full summertime if we'd lost the league this year. We would have been looking at the sky, wondering where we're going next as a club, where we're going next as a developing players. We'll be all thinking about dreading going to work. You name it, boys. And nothing else competes. Nothing else compares to that. Even a win against Real Madrid compares to beating Rangers to win the league.
The two things work alongside each other for me, and where I disagree with you is it's all that matters, and I don't think it's all. I know what you're trying to get. It's the most important. It's ranked number one in the list of priorities, and winning the league means you're better than Rangers, right? Because there's no one else that is going to whatsoever. There's the thumbs back. Winning the league is always going to mean that you've had to have been better than Rangers, right? Because there's just not any other sort of competition to try and wrestle a title. For me, it's always about Celtic getting better and be the best version of themselves. And what will come with that is being better than Rangers, but also then moments in time. Let's maybe not look at trying to win the Champions League and things and be utterly unrealistic about where we're at as a football club and what it takes to even get to any levels like that. But I do also think there's a right for all paying fans to be able to see that a team is constantly trying to progress, evolve, and get better year on year. Whilst making profit will always be important, I also think once it gets to the stage where it's as lopsided as it is now, there has to be seen to be a level of intent and investment from the club and other avenues, for the team to compete in than just the SPFL, because I think that starts to take care more and more of itself if you can switch your focus even a bit to where you're playing against real quality teams and have you really tooled up for that. In reality, over the last 12 months, we didn't tool up for the league, and that's been proven by the fact in the big games, mate. I think the Celtic Rangers game at the weekend, all 9 signings for the summer didn't feature or didn't start, and there's no way I can sit and accept that that's even a board that sat and said, let's win the league this year. Yeah, because that's proven as a fact that conversation, if it was had, was folly and they were wrong. And that's incompetence then, because when it came to the crunch, Rodgers knew who he could count on, and he did not count on anyone that had been brought to the party last 12 months ago when he came in. And that's a mistake on his part as well, which I think he'll definitely have learned from. And it's a fact now that he can evidence base his judgments on as well. And he can actually now turn around and go, well, our best run of form, and when we had it mattered most, I went with the guys that were already in the door. not the ones that you recommended. So let's not do that again this summer, because that could be costly domestically. If that's the be-all, end-all, then you're even jeopardising that if you have 2 summers in a row of 9 players coming in, Mark, for 20, 25 million pounds, and none of them can get in to your first team when it's the biggest games and the most at stake. That's damning. But what I also admire about it is the Rodgers ruthlessness in making those tough decisions when he had to. And I'm glad he got there eventually. And I think he's pandered to wingers at times this year, for example. When it came to who he could hang his hat on, you've seen, for example, James Forrest come in. Stephen Kennedy comes in, brilliant to have you on the bus. And I think it's a fair point that he makes. As we've touched on already, Stephen, we were very up and down this season, and I'm more than happy to ridicule ourselves with some of the comments we made, but they're fair at the time, and it's always a sum of moving parts being a Celtic fan. And yeah, a while ago it felt to me that Rodgers wouldn't be there for the next season. I thought he looked disillusioned. I felt things he tried to preempt for the January window then weren't delivered, and that again led me to think, fucking hell, this is a party that's not happening here between these two, and for whatever reason it felt to me he looked isolated, and he did seem a wee bit, I don't know, disenfranchised. I know he's came back fighting today, saying he was going through the motions, and he didn't take kindly to that. But what I would say is, I don't think he was going through the motions. I think he just felt a wee bit like, fucking hell, I didn't sign up for this. But he's dug deep. He's had moments in the media, I think, that's helped his cause. I think he's started saying the right things at the right time, and he's galvanised a spirit in the team at the right moments. And I think that comes with experience, which he was quick to remind us of. He's a pretty experienced manager now. I like the fact he spoke about 3 of Leicester's highest finishes ever in their history, bar the time they won the league, was under him, as well as the FA Cup and the Charity Shield. He came back a more decorated manager this time. He had a different challenge presented to him, and he still has overcame it in the big one. I'd love us to go on to do the double, and that would put to bed to me, I think, 2 out of the 3 trophies, as I say, in a year where I think there's been a few things that need to be addressed going forward as to how we tool up whoever the manager is. In terms of him not being there next season, obviously my mind has changed on that though, Stephen, definitely. But was there a spell this season where I thought, wow, they're going to just try and muddle their way through this to the end of the year? That's how it felt. But I don't think Celtic muddled their way in the end. And I didn't see the run of form and the level of performance of a consistent nature coming that we've actually ended up witnessing over the last couple of months. And fair fucks to the manager and the players for doing that. But that now gives me the confidence to say, obviously, I expect Rodgers to be there. But was there a point where I didn't think it looked like that? Stephen, spot on. Absolutely. And I think that sums up, in a nutshell, what being put through the mill, as Mark was saying earlier. It was this season, which we were on plenty of times as Celtic fans.
Well, definitely, Bhoycie. And just look back maybe 5 weeks ago, we go to Ibrox. If they win that match, they're 5 points clear, and Rodgers is away. So it wasn't like this season was a procession. It's been a hard season, mate, and I must admit, Steve has come in there. I mean, I said at the beginning of the show that I had to put my hands up and say, I know, like I thought it was going to be away, I know. And to be quite honest with you, had they lost the league, I'd have chased him out the door. In fact, I called for him to be sacked in maybe February time, and I meant it, because they were reacting to the performances, throwing away a 7-point lead. But you know something, he proved me wrong, he proved you wrong, and he pulled this mediocre, below par Celtic team. With quality throughout it, to be fair, there's players there that are decent, and he pulled him in a line. And if he gets 93 points with this team, I mean, it'll probably not be appreciated next Saturday or this Saturday, sorry. But that's some points tally for a group of players like that, I mean, the back four's been criticised all season. Joe Hart's, I think, had his best season for Celtic. Midfield's been red rotten. Strike force has been in and out. Maeda's form's picked now. We haven't had a winger all season that's done it, apart from James Forrest in the last couple of weeks. We've had a bad group of players at times. We played the Ibrox with Burnaby, for talking's sake. And do you know what? We pulled through it. We ground out results, and this manager had a lot of things levelled at him. He played against Mark Warburton. He played against this, that, and the other. But he's put that to bed now. He's put that to bed. He's this season he was up against a full force Rangers, as they want to call it. He's all the players, all the Raskans and the Cantwells, these guys that are utter shite, all these players that were told are world class, and he's beat them all. Our captains laughed in their face half the time, and he's had a blow past season. I mean, that manager they've got, he'll give Celtic no respect whatsoever, but then demand respect after Celtic. But Celtic don't give him nothing. He deserves fuck all. The way he talks about opposition players and all the rest of it, not wanting to give anybody any praise, that guy, and he talks about respect. The only thing the only respect he deserves is not to be kicked out the door after a match at Celtic Park. But we let the cunt sit there and do an interview first. To sit there and go on about a referee's performance when a goal was offside. He saw a penalty kick with an offside, and he's talking about fucking.
I know.
Just utter pish constantly, boys. So he deserves no respect. No, I mean demanding it. And Rogers has had all this noise about calling that woman a good girl, and the stuff last week about having fun. He's just been utter just nonsense behind the scenes, and he's put it all to bed last night. I think when he goes on holidays, he will deserve his relaxation. He's been brilliant. But the next question is for the summertime, is where we go next. But like recruitment wise, but I think just now we should just savour this, because I was sitting a few weeks ago when I thought we were going to lose the league, and I was thinking back, Angie's last season there, I had to run it full time and try and get home. My transport was fucked, and I thought to myself, I've not savoured that atmosphere. I thought I don't know the next time I'm going to see a champions at a trophy lift, or see. I don't know when the next one's going to be. And I thought to myself, I ruined that by no celebrating it. But by God, they're going to make up for it Saturday. You know what I mean? I'm going to get mad with it. I'm going to maybe go up a tune, and maybe just going to, I don't know, just get utterly
up the tune. Right.
And do you know what? I think that this has been one of the most satisfying ones for me. The only one that beats it for me, I feel like, is maybe the 98 season, of course, and O'Neill's first season. I thought that was quite satisfying, because we fucking done him right in, and we came for beating a treble winning Rangers team that spent 50 million quid. It was unheard of. Even in England, they were spending 20 million pound in a full summer. They spent 50 million, and we still managed to beat them in the following season. So this one is probably number 3 for me, and I've saw a few. So I don't know what question you asked me. I went a tangent there, but anyway, I'm only fucking silly.
That's what it's all about, mate. That is exactly what it's all about. Based on the last performance, the last night was, I thought, by the way, a special way to win the league. I thought that's how, if you're going to win the title, doing it in style, piling on the agony, putting on the style as the fans were singing relentlessly, which was brilliant. The actual performance warranted that the last night. There was a lot of good aspects. And again, when you look at the game individually, I know we're talking about the season sort of more retrospectively than now, but when you actually look at the game itself, I mean, the big tweak that was made was playing Ida. And that was the sort of rabbit out the hat move, and it absolutely worked. I don't think it was prepared for by the opposition either. Ida looked to me like a guy playing for a contract. That's how he described me. That's how I would describe his performance. That's like a guy who's made his mind up of where he wants his football to be going forward, and he really played with a purpose and a determination, and with a lot of quality, and it was allowing Celtic to play in a slightly different style as well at times. I thought his build-up play was outstanding. I thought some of the wee first touches he took with his back to goal and it getting zipped into him, I thought, wow, there was more quality involved there than maybe we've always seen from Ida. But there was a calmness to get the ball then out wide, feed it. It was intelligent link-up play that he was showing.
Bhoycie. It reminded me of Samaras a wee bit when he was on it.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. Yeah. I hear you when he's got the bit between his teeth. No, I know exactly what you mean. And obviously one of the glaring questions, if we do fast forward a wee bit to the summer, and this is a positive question I suppose to have, because we're talking about a title winner here who, by the way, with I think 8 goals he's managed in that spell, who would rule out him finishing with double figures in his loan spell? I think that would have been something we described as a serious achievement and potentially a game changer if we could get someone to get double figures in January for that same season. I think we would have described that as a very positive move. Obviously, it came in the shape of what was described as a Norwich City third choice striker, and that didn't bring the gloss and the glam that we were looking for. but the substance is always the most important part. And when you look at the numbers that he's potentially going to get and already has got, and the moments like Fir Park, things like this. And I thought last night as well, when it matters most, this is about getting over the line, mate. You lose that last night. We've lost at Killie twice this year without Ida. And you start looking at a nervy final day of the season. News filters through when we're 0-0, that Rangers are 3-0 up. All this sort of stuff. And before you know it, Saturday takes a different shape. What he decided was he was going to do his damnedest to get us over that line as fast as possible. He looked like a guy who really was laser focused. And I thought played the best football I'd seen from him in a Celtic shirt so far. And like I say, has made numerous before that contributions to winning this league, by the way, that have been of serious consequence. That's what he's done. He's influenced outcomes this year. Scott Cameron comes in and he's asking, do we spend the $5 million on Ida? One of the other questions, of course, is going to be like Alan Robertson asking, is it Ida or Majowski if it were you? For me, we know the fee is to be $5 million for Ida. I've got to be honest again, these are fees that are drops in the ocean. We can't have it both ways. We can't look at Matt O'Reilly's impact or a Jota impact or a Kieran Tierney impact and instantly jump to 30 million, 25, 30 million pound price tags and then not expect to be shelling out 5 million on a striker that we think would get us 15, 20 goals next year. And that's what I think realistic. Based on the numbers so far in the spell he's had, if you were to project that over a full season, that'd put him in the 15, 20 goal bracket mark. And I just don't think we can expect to carry on getting guys for £1.5 million. They're going to have that, and we can't keep shuddering at fees like £5 million if we're gonna progress. And I think Adam Ida's definitely worth a conversation, Mark, about the settling in period. It's done. It's done. The fee, it looks like it's already set in stone. And you've got a guy with desire and wanting to be there that is affordable and that knows what it takes. And more importantly, wants to be at Celtic, which I think is such an important thing as well, which kind of gets glossed over at times. When it's Stepping Stone FC, you don't always get that same level of commitment, where this looked like a guy who wants to be at Celtic FC. Where do you stand on the Adam Ida one? We've had it time now to look at his spell at Celtic. We've only got a couple of games to go, so whatever judgment call is going to be made, it's unlikely to be shifted too much over the next couple of games, albeit recency bias always plays a part from a supporter's point of view. But from Celtics, do they go all out and go for Ida to be that competition for Kyogo? And in the case of Majowski, why can't we get him as well would be my take, because I want to see that department strengthened properly. I don't like the idea of going in with two strikers, and forget about, Rodgers has forgotten about him, so it's time that we all did as well, because he ain't going to be part of a 3-striker option sort of thing next year. I think we need 3. I think it is incumbent on the board to provide the manager with 3 strikers, and that means you can then switch to 2 up front when the going's going a wee bit different, or it's a horses for courses game, and it allows you to tweak formations and do the unpredictable. But yeah, in terms of Ida being part of that, £5 million, where'd you sit?
I think when you start asking, would you pay XX, that's the board winning. The board have won there. It's whether you want the player. Forget about the price. When we start questioning, would you pay £5 million? We're almost giving the board, free rein to start questioning how much players are worth. You know what I mean? If the manager wants them and he's within their structure, then buy him. If it's £1 million or £10 million, I don't get the issue. Yeah, that annoys me sometimes. Like, would you pay $6 million? You go like, well, do you want them? I will pay it. It's £5 million is. We paid that for Alan Stubbs nearly 30 years ago, boys. How's that become a lot of money to Celtic? Because
conditioning. It's the word we've always used. It's the word we've always used. It's conditioning, mate. There is, and then you can feel the shudders at £5 million still. You're absolutely spot on. And you have to use examples like Stubbs, because I think it's so relevant when you say that. You go, well, how did Celtic possibly afford it then without all the lucrative sponsorship deals that they've currently got, without the cash reserves they did? It never busted us then. We were able to get Alan Stubbs once Buchanan came in. So don't kid yourself. £5 million is going to be breaking banks, and it's a lot of money to spend in this day and age. It ain't. No,
well, we signed a kit deal with Umbro in 93 for 8 years for £10 million. So half of that was away in one player. I mean, so let's not pretend that Celtic are are gambling by paying £5 million when there's £100 million. I reckon by the time me and you see the figures of 150 million in the bank, I'm going to keep it and say it. We'll sell O'Reilly, probably sell a couple other duds tappy him, Champions League money, kit sales, you name it. I reckon we'll have about that in the bank, and that isn't a wild figure, because that is when you add possibly get £7.5 million minimum to come in for Frimpong. Bill looks at it. So that's that. He's paid for nothing. But to be honest with you, you can't have it both ways. See this in the pod chat last night. If you want, don't sit and tell me on the eve of the Champions League that you want Celtic to progress in Europe, but you're buying guys like Adamida. Don't, because I'm not interested in listening to conversations like that. If you want to win the league and you think he's good enough to get you to the next level, that's a different story. I think we can do better than Adamida. I think last night he was unplayable. He was outstanding. I think he's definitely got the ability to go higher than the Championship in England, maybe bottom half or the bottom maybe quarter in the EPL. But doesn't he always make you a good Celtic striker, playing under pressure and all the rest of it? I've saw enough to suggest that he could be in your squad, definitely. But no number one striker, boys. I want us to go out and get better than Kyogo. I mean, we have a folk to listen to. I want Celtic to say, listen, Kyogo's at this level. We want that. We can afford that. And it's up to Kyogo to try and bridge that gap. And the same goes for Miovski. I think he's the kind of guy that maybe next season might score 2 goals or he might score 30. I'm not convinced about the guy yet. I think this could be a season in the sun for him. I don't think his career stats is all that great. I'm not entirely sure. But Adamita's 23 years old, Bhoycie. Basically, in football terms, he's got 2 contracts left. He's halfway through his football career by the time the season starts, really. You know what I mean? So he's probably in football full time for about, 7-8 years, maybe 6-7 years. He's not a Wayne or a novice. He's fun, probably his level at Norwich.
Yep.
But I would I take him? I'd take him. I wouldn't. If it's £5 million, that's fine for me. I mean, the money's not a big issue. I think we can do better. That's the only thing. I think we can do better, boys. I think we can do better than Greg Taylor, Arthur Johnson, Scales, or the Park. I think we can do better. The other question is what level we go to. If he's the highest level we're going to go to in the summertime, then I've got concerns about again next year. To be quite honest with you, I think because I think that mob will spend money. They will spend money. I think they're a shoe-in to probably qualify for the Champions League as well, because they're going to be in the Champions path if Leverkusen win the Europa League. And they can negotiate the ties for some reason. They know how to do it. That's Pam. And a brilliant show last night. Is that your Pam? Is that Pam for the pod? Yeah, great show last night. Pam, she was great on her debut last night. You can say that. But no, I think, for me personally, I think Celtic should be shooting for the stars and hopefully land on the moon. Adamida, excellent, brilliant 6 months. And I think goals at Ibrox, goals at Tynecastle, goals at Easter Road. I won it at Easter Road, sorry. I won it at Fir Park. A goal last night to settle the nerves. He's played his part and he deserves his medal. Some folk just come in for 3 or 4 months, like Nat Phillips, and do absolutely nothing. He's come up here determined to prove all the Celtic fans that were doubting him, me, Rang, and probably win a contract. And if he gets a contract with Celtic, I don't think anybody can complain about it. I think he deserves it. But the only question you've got, Bhoycie, and I've got is the peak that Celtic can get? And that's where the conversation should be going now that we've got 130, 40, 50 million pound in the bank. There's no club in the world that are in a better condition than Celtic. I'll tell you why. See in relative terms, Celtic are billionaires. Because see the EPL, there's Man City's and all the rest of it. They'll probably be 5-10% above what Chelsea can get. We're 1,000% above what MD else can get in the league. And so we should look for the very, very best that we can get. And then again, for the 5th or 6th time, eventually just kill Rangers off. Because Neil tried it, didn't get back. Stratton tried it at 3-0, didn't get back. Neil Lennon tried it, it was get a team together, didn't get back. I thought Rodgers first time, didn't get back. This is another chance for Celtic to go, right, we're going to stay on your throats this time and not let go. And it's up to us whether we think Adam Reader and Greg Taylor, etc., are going to get us to that out of sight stage. I'm just not convinced is what some people are.
I think that's interesting because no, I'm listening, mate. No. I think it's interesting when you have the debate of what then do you want from Celtic, because if we cast our mind back to the top of the show, if it is the be all and end all winning the league and being the bread and butter, and if that's the attitude from the board and that is the strategy that they actually take this summer, which I'm not even convinced was a good one last summer, but say it is, then either actually does tick those boxes in that sense, because you've just listed the goals that is required for someone to be better than Rangers and be that be all end all. If we are talking about next levels, then we're back to the European debate, and that is where I would like the sights to be set. I think sometimes the best decisions, in fact, I think all the times in life, no matter whether it's football or not, the best decisions you always make in life will be the toughest ones. And I think if you were really looking at, it's not just domestic. I'm looking at Europe, and I'm looking, and I know there's money there, and it would be the Adam. Thank you so much. All the best.
Yeah.
And now I'm going this way. That'll be tough to do that on the back of what he's done. No one could have done more to have earned a permanent deal than what Adam Reader's done. If there was a template on coming to Celtic, trying to earn your fucking contract, mate, I think he's ticked all those boxes.
Yeah.
A ruthless decision would be saying, appreciate it. I'm glad you've got memories that'll last forever, and you've been one of the lucky people in the world right now who's been able to represent Celtic, and I hope it's boosted your career prospects. However, I'm now looking for that. If you're talking about next levels and things, which I would love to be equated into the conversation, let alone just winning leagues, then yeah, potentially you would be saying it's tough. But
the big clubs do that. They do.
And I think sentiment can get in the way of that. And that's what we've always been praising Brendan for when he was reappointed, is taking emotion away from making decisions. And I think that would maybe be very much required to not offer Ida a contract, because even I find it harsh in many ways, especially when you list the goals that you just did there. I'm going, fucking hell, it's a compelling argument to give the guy a deal. But that's if you want the same again next year. If you want better again next year, then maybe these conversations, and if you've got the tools to do so, then maybe the goalposts have moved slightly, because Celtic's going to be an extra 40-50 million pound deep. But that's before selling a player. And O'Reilly's likely to leave, so you could be looking at another doubling the cash reserves, and now we're close to something like that. Then maybe you would be able to sort of go, look, we can actually do better than him now. But thank you for everything that you've done. These are the tough decisions that people need to make. We can't always be a happy hunting ground for players to consistently get rewarded and rewarded and rewarded again for efforts that they might have made. Sometimes you need to evolve and you need to be ruthless. Gary Brown comes in to talk about another striker. Brilliant to have you on, Gary. I know you're in Spain right now and enjoying your holidays, and thanks for jumping on the bus whilst you're abroad. Do you think Shanklin's good enough for Celtic? In a nutshell, I don't. I think, though, again, going back to, if you want to win that league and it is your sole remit, then yeah, I think the next 3 years he would get you 20 goals plus in the league. Year on year, he would be a massive factor in winning league titles. He doesn't do anything differently for us in that bigger, grander stage. And if there is any eyes that are wanting to shift to that, which I think would lead to the domestic stuff being taken care of itself, as I say anyway, or not, I don't mean that nonchalant. I just mean it'll make it more likely that we'll be able to deal with domestic obstacles. If you really are trying to build a side that can compete, latter stages Europa League, compete and to get a couple of wins at home in the Champions League and get a third spot, things like that, then Lawrence Shankland doesn't get you there. But Lawrence Shankland certainly would be a player, no two ways, that would have a massive impact in retaining a title. It's just the way it is. If he scores 30 goals this year for Hearts, Mark, 30 goals, that gets replicated at Celtic, if not more.
I think sometimes as well, though, playing for Celtic and Rangers, you don't get the space like you do playing for Hearts against St Johnstone. They don't set up to stifle you. They'll go man for man. You don't get 20 yards of space between the defender and the keeper. So it's a different argument. I think sometimes the player you see playing for Aberdeen or Hearts isn't the player you get sometimes, because it's a different kettle of fish when you play for Celtic Rangers, because you play a different opposition for anybody else. St Johnstone playing against Celtic are up 2 or 3 levels. Their fitness is up,
I get that.
their mind's up, their tactics are different. But I do agree with you, Billy Dodds, for talking sake.
Yeah, something like that. It's not advocating for St Shanklin. I'm trying to bring balance to a 3 live chat when I'm trying to say, no, if you want to do just domestic bliss, you don't think he would contribute towards that, then you're just being like silly, because of course he would, and he would contribute a lot of goals domestically. But is he part of my vision for how Celtic progress into next season? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But he's good enough for a Celtic that only is focused on winning a league title again next year. He is, because he would get those goals. He would get goals, but he's certainly not a part of a progressive.
No, he's part of the squad as well. I don't think he would start for Celtic. He's part of a squad. I don't think he's footballing ability. I think he's this season. He's had an ending summer, to be honest with you. I think he's had a cracking season, but do that for 3 or 4 years, and then we can talk. We rush into things like this before David Fernandez, for talking sake. Guys maybe have a loyalty for a season. You go, oh, get them in, they'll be class, and it doesn't work out all the time. But I do agree with you. He's like Lee Griffiths, for talking sake. He was a player that you could tell could play for Celtic. You know what I mean? He came in, he scored fucking 100 goals for Celtic. But this is what I'm talking about, boys. It's a totally different argument. If you can't, the fan base can't be asking for players like that, but then moan to the board because we're getting beat off Sturm Graz in the Champions League. Because if you get what you want, something you get what you deserve sometimes, and that would be under that category. I think. I don't know what this question is coming here.
Yeah, I'm gonna come. It's Stubbsy Sauce. Brilliant to have you on as always, Stubbsy, and he's talking about the Champions League money that we're now obviously guaranteed, Mark. And by the way, one of the other things we're winning this title, it's probably not getting touched on enough, is when you look at Celtic's atrocious or very flip-flop nature of, to put it mildly, of qualifying for the Champions League when playoffs are required and qualifying rounds are, winning the league this year and getting that guaranteed access to the new improved, financially at very least, Premier European competition can't be understated. It cannot be emphasised enough how big a factor that is as well. Will it mean, Stubbsy wants to know, we finally bury the Rangers, or do we have how do you pronounce that word? Malevolent. Good word. Fucking Liberty's a school day, man. I thought it was fucking someone for Harry Potter. I was like, Malevolent. Who the fuck's that? But does that type of board means that they won't allow, and he's put that in inverted comments, that gap, I'm guessing Stubbsy's getting at, to realistically that can be achieved. You wouldn't like to think so, but I do believe, like, I've got to be consistent and say I felt this season was a dream season for them. It was one where they looked at it and went, look, we've had the title race, we've still won it. So that's brought, eyes on the domestic game. European football, they've all kind of forgotten about it. They're all buzzing at their wee tits because they've won that domestic league. They've actually won 12 out of 13 years, but it looks like it's the first time they've won it in fucking a decade. Because it was a wee bit nip and tuck this year. And it means that there's less focus on what we actually did to tool up a manager for a second group stage in a row Champions League campaign. When you look at it that way, it's tricky to imagine a situation. And I always use the term, Mark, this year since the summer, once bitten, twice as shy. And we've spoke about that because that's how I feel. I was definitely sucked into the thought that Celtic are definitely been in business here, highest paid manager in history, record wages on Calmac, we reckon, potentially Kyogo as well, new long-term deals for other first-teamers. And I just thought, wow, this will now be replicated in terms of the recruitment. It absolutely wasn't. It couldn't have been worse. It couldn't have been more the opposite. So now for me to hang my hat on this club, doing anything that means burying Rangers, I don't believe that they'll do enough to strengthen Celtic the way I want, let alone burying their rivals. That's my biggest concern. If we focus on Celtic and Celtic alone, will they improve the team to a level befitting of the achievements that the managers and playing staff of the last 3 years have achieved in terms of group stage football, 3 years in a row for the Champions League? That alone is around 100 million in revenue. It ensures future sponsorship deals because you're far more attractive, having been in the Premier competition these times? Are these acknowledged with rewarding the manager with proper tools to improve and enhance the playing staff? I don't see it. And that's my biggest concern. Now, if I did see it inadvertently, that would mean, yes, burying the Rangers. But just from a pure Celtic point of view, it would mean extra investment that can be afforded into a playing group that would be far, far better equipped to at least take on the challenge of 8 games in the Champions League and try and get a respectable point tally, try and maybe make a fist of it to drop into the Europa League or whatever. James is saying we don't need to play qualifiers, which is a bonus in Europe. And I know that, James. What I'm trying to say is this is the last year of that, which is why I'm trying to say that, it magnifies how big a league title win this was, because next year it is playoff rounds even for the champions. So there was a lot riding on this league title. But Mark, that doesn't mean we're going to be daft or naive enough or even wishful thinking enough to expect Celtic to then capitalise on that and take it further.
Well, I think it was Lowell that said that they know the pitfalls of stockpiling cash. And you go, well, okay, you've learned your lesson. And then you add the money we'll go this season, the Champions League, guaranteed season tickets, shirt sales, there'll be 10 kits next season laid out. But they'll do it again. They'll do it again, boys. I'm 30th time bitten and I'm 100th time shy. I don't trust them. I don't trust them at all. I don't trust the guys to give me change for a tenner, put it that way. I really don't trust them at all. I think we start a season with Scott Bain in goal. I've said that a few times on here. I really do. And I think the back four you seen last night is next year's back four. Make no mistake about it. I think you'll maybe get one or two. I think you'll probably get 2 first team. They'll replace O'Reilly with Bernardo, and they'll get somebody to replace Bernardo, and I think they'll get another winger. That'll be a whack. That'll be a whack, and there'll be a couple more subs along the way, a couple of more Coons and a couple of more Palmas type players. But we've got a full squad. Listen, this is something you think about. We've got a full squad tied down in 4-year contracts, and they're all in the beginning of the contract. Kobayashi's got 2 years left. All the guys we just signed there, they've got 4 years left, most of them. We've just signed Scales another 4 years. Montgomery, who was, we were talking about getting rid of a couple weeks ago, he's signed a new contract for 4 years, whatever it is, 2 or 3 years. Taylor's getting another 3-4 year contract before you know it. Johnson's probably going to get signed up to 2040. So believe you me, the club just can't just go, oh, just use guys training this pitch and we'll just bring another first team squad in. It doesn't work that way. It just our net spend will be zero. We'll make a profit. That is a fact. You know what I mean? I'm not going to go down the negative route because
I know what you mean.
Nobody wants to listen to me talk about that. Yeah. Just focus your mind on what you expect Celtic to be. The question is, will Celtic put their throats down in Rangers? No. I know. I think Rangers will buy in 5, 6 first 11 players and they will go hell for leather to get to that Champions League. But at the same time, they'll strengthen their domestic team. They'll go up. We might go up a wee bit. It'll be the same as this next season.
I don't know.
Balance. That's it.
I don't know. I think they're in real soapy bubble to be strengthening.
I don't know, Bhoycie. I don't think so because there's no talk. Yeah. No, I don't because I think they qualify for Champions League as well. I know a day. Plus, they'll give it 8.
I mean, that's based on nothing right now because we don't even know who they'd be playing.
No, but they'll get maybe 8 or 9 players out of a contract. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they're going to play same with players, right? And they're all on. If you check they're all on maybe 30 grand a week next to them, Bhoycie. They're on more wages than the Celtic players are.
Yeah, they've got a higher wage bill than Celtic. I accept that.
So they'll go for going. We'll go to somebody's door and say we've got 20 grand a week. They'll say, do you fancy 33 grand a week? Aye.
Yeah.
Do you think they've got the money? If they've got the money just now, plus they've got more because they'll have a refresh next season, and they manage to challenge us pretty closely, albeit with a bad Celtic team. But they still manage to spend all this money, 30 grand a week on some players. I checked up the stats about players' wages, and it's a good source. even they're saying Bernardo with £5,000 a week. Not Bernardo, Bernabeu. That was true. We've seen that in court. He was only £5,000 a week.
That's right.
Skills, £2,000 a week. I seen on that same website. You know what I mean? So they were getting improved terms.
Yes.
And we had like 3 players above 20 grand. One was McGregor. He was on like 37. Kyogo, and I think it was Carter Vickers. They're all on like 22, 23. And then it went down to Joe Hart on something like 18 or 17 grand. You know what I mean? And we were paying Larson 50 grand 25 years ago, or 20 odd years ago. And so they can afford that. I mean, they can afford. They'll have, and plus they'll have at least Europa League football. So that's another 15, 20 million. You know what I mean? They're no sitting. See, this idea that people go to the Rangers are skint. They're no skint, and they were never skint. They just tapped too much money, and the banks called it in. Big difference. That's why they went bust. The banks called in their debt. They never went to the bank and says, "Give $5 million." They says, "No, you no pay it back." They were very like to them. They bother, take as much as you want because we can't afford to wipe off your debt.
They got to 19 million overdraft, I think it was, in the Bank of Scotland, wasn't
it? Well, was that?
It was like 90 million or something was the overdraft.
Because the Bank of Scotland were in too deep. They knew if they
Masterton or something.
If they were in too deep, boys, they knew if they had written Rangers debt off or they shut the door on Rangers, they would have went in big trouble and went bust. Then you get none of your money back.
Yeah.
So you keep giving them money. You know what I mean? It's I don't think
notwithstanding that though.
I guarantee you they spend at least 15 million. At least 15 million. So that's
realistic. If Celtic do what they can do, the Gulf would still be that. Realistically, if Celtic did what they could do, which I'm not saying we envisage,
we can spend 60 million. They bother.
Agreed, and that would then put us further apart.
Without even paying off the gardener or the groundskeeper. If we lost the Sky deal tomorrow, it wouldn't even affect your electricity bill. It wouldn't even affect your taking one iota. Right, that's how much these monies are minuscule to Celtic. So see, we could spend £60 million tomorrow, and it wouldn't even touch your bank balance. We'd have another £70 or £80 million still in the bank.
I hear you, mate.
Next year's money's not come in yet.
It's been an incredible few years when you look at the rebuilds that they're constantly doing, mate, year on year with a new manager at the helm and the unsettledness that can bring. We looked at this summer thinking it was going to, or the summer, but last year, as going to be the summer of change because Brendan was coming back. He must have given promises to come back. There's no way in hell he wouldn't have. And we got a real strange one in terms of the recruitment. This time around, we've got a manager now with a body of evidence to take the board. His hand is stronger than it was last time. That's undeniable. And there's actually evidence to say that what you did last time around didn't work either. So you combine it with these successes and you combine it with their failures, and his case is strong to have a different sort of approach. And I'm glad of that because I think the team does need seriously improvement. But I think Brendan's also won round the fans now as well. Yeah. And I think that's a massive part to bring into the case. And as you watch someone who, whether people like this or not, I told you when I watched a guy who was 9th in the Japanese league, I watched his Australia, he was under 20 or under 20s or under 21s manager, something like that, failed to qualify. He was 8 years or something as that, Ange, and he failed to qualify for the World Cup twice, beating off teams like Fiji, things like this. You watched him on the news, and there was this the 2-screen sort of interview with Fox News Australia, whoever it was, and he was a prick, mate, because it wasn't going his way. He was a wanker. And he came over bad, and we were for some reason celebrating this is what we need, and I couldn't understand it because he sounded childish. And we're now watching it happening down in England. And I'm watching Brendan Rodgers put his arm around Neil Lennon and managed to sort of bridge that barrier, if you like, or something that was a broken bridge for a wee while. And his first instinct when he sees Lenny with the Sky Sports cameras trying just build that, and I thought that humility, that sort of compassion, that level of understanding of the situation won't get flagged and loved and love bombed, I should say, the way if it had been Ange doing that. Ange stood with Martin O'Neill and went nuts, including myself. I'd go, oh, this is amazing. But yet, I look at the pettiness that's been shown down south right now from Ange and the image that he's given over, and I contrast and compare that with anything Brendan's done in times of adversity. And you start just looking at the bigger picture and going, say we did this tricky season under Ange this year, and we'd had those wee sticky spells because it'd been the same players that would have came in. Make no mistake about that. And the same players would have left. And it was Ange doing it, and suddenly that dip happens with him. I don't think it would have been managed as well as what Brendan has. And that's the final sort of talking point for the night.
Well, that's just it. You know what I mean? Like, I think the difference between Ange and Rodgers is there is humility there. You know what I mean? That's something you don't really see spoke about under. You think Rodgers is this kind of, you know, offer himself guy, the Gucci belt, and you know, Rodgers with his fake tan and all the rest of it. I mean, that's not the reality of it. I don't think so anyway. I think Ange was offered himself. You look at every time he exploded in a press conference up here, he was defending himself. He never defended the fans or the team. You know what I mean? It was always made defend. Oh, I never came from Mars, mate. You know what I mean? Or fucking, I know what I'm doing. Or you know, it was never very volatile in defending the fans. Or it was offered himself, and
it becomes RGFC. See whatever team he's in charge of. You'll see it with Spurs. It's Postecoglou FC. You're Spurs right now are Postecoglou FC. That's how it comes over. That's how it comes over. And I just think I look at the.
No, Bhoycie's cut off. I don't know what's happened here.
There, mate.
You still there?
I am. Can you hear me?
Hear you fine, mate. Hear you fine.
But yeah, I just think from that point of view, I'm glad we've got the guy we've got, shown a bit of class, dug deep when he had to, and never made it a petty squabble about what he can and can't do. Instead of it being, it was all about keeping it right. And he gets his digs in now, and he's entitled to do that.
Yep, definitely.
That'll do us for the night anyway. The T.N.F. It's been an hour. Thanks to everyone who's joined us. Judge, brilliant to have you on. Cleanest kitchen in Europe. Celtic champions. Brilliant show. Thanks to everyone who's joined us. And yeah, what was it? What was I to finish the show with?
Don't worry, be happy.
Oh, don't worry, be happy. Always look at the bright side of life. Keep your eyes on the Judge. See you there.